You will perish in this galaxy. So will your children, and every human who will ever exist. We look at the stars and see a destination, but what if the universe is not an ocean to be crossed, but a prison? A prison so perfect, so mathematically cruel, that the laws of physics themselves are the bars. We are alone. But is that an accident, or is it by design? In the next several minutes, I'm not just going to prove it. I'm going to give you the blueprints to the cage. The tyranny of the void. We think of space travel as just a matter of distance. We point our telescopes at Andromeda, our nearest neighbor, and think, destination. It's only 2.5 million light-years away. It looks so close. Surely it's just a matter of time, right? But this is our first mistake. We think of the Milky Way as impossibly vast, a shimmering spiral of 400 billion stars. But this galaxy is your home, your cradle, a teeming island of matter in an ocean of emptiness. The true soul-crushing terror begins where it ends, in the gap, the gulf, the ocean of absolute nothingness that separates us from everything else. This is the intergalactic void, and it is the first great wall that seals humanity's fate. Our galaxy is roughly 100,000 light-years across, a scale that already strains the limits of human comprehension. But this distance is trivial. The real journey, the first step toward escaping, would be to Andromeda. It is 2.5 million light-years away. This number is so large your brain can't process it. It becomes an abstraction. We must translate it. A single light-year is nearly 9.5 trillion kilometers. Andromeda sits at almost 24 quintillion kilometers, but the only number that matters is the 2.5 million. That is the travel time, in years, if you could achieve the absolute, final, and physically impossible speed of light. 2.5 million years. This is not a historical timescale, it is a geological one. 2.5 million years ago, your species, Homo sapiens, did not exist. Our distant ancestors, Homo habilis, were just beginning to chip away at the first stone tools. The entire recorded history of human civilization would be a microscopic sliver of time, less than 1% of this one-way journey. You would be launching a vessel whose occupants would not see their destination for a span of time 100 times longer than our species has been civilized. And this is the optimistic calculation, at a speed we can never, ever reach. The void itself is a realm of profound horror. The intergalactic medium is the most perfect, sterile vacuum in the universe. It is a darkness so complete, it has no analogue, a cold that hovers at just 2.7 degrees above absolute zero. It is a barren expanse where a traveler might cross 1 million light-years without ever encountering a single rogue atom. This is the true nature of our prison. It is not a cage of bars, but a cage of scale. The universe has surrounded our island of life with a moat of such profound, crushing emptiness that it may as well be an infinite wall. But even this profound barrier is not the most definitive. The universe has also written a fundamental law, a cosmic speed limit, that ensures the locks on our cage can never be broken. The cosmic speed limit. In 1905, Albert Einstein did not just write a scientific paper. He wrote a prison sentence for every species in the universe. With a few elegant strokes of mathematics, he defined the bars of our cosmic cage, a barrier so absolute that it may never be overcome. This barrier is the speed of light. It is a staggering velocity, nearly 300 million meters per second. You've been taught to see this number, c, as a destination, a cosmic speed limit to be chased. This is a misunderstanding, it's not a goal. It is a fundamental law of causality, the speed at which reality itself operates, and it is a wall that no object with mass can ever touch. The reason is a brutal piece of cosmic economics embedded in Einstein's most famous equation, E equals mc squared. As an object accelerates, its kinetic energy increases, and that energy has mass. In short, the faster you go, the heavier you get. As you push an object closer to the speed of light, its mass begins to increase exponentially, approaching infinity. Imagine a simple car. To accelerate it to light speed, it would need to weigh more than the entire observable universe. To accelerate an object to the speed of light would require an infinite amount of energy, because you would be pushing an object that has become infinitely massive. This isn't an engineering challenge, It is a logical impossibility, a fundamental no written into the fabric of space-time. So, we cannot reach the speed of light. What if we settled for a modest fraction? Let us say 10%. This is still a blistering 30 million meters per second. The Tsiolkovsky rocket equation, the basic formula that governs all rocketry, reveals this to be a fool's errand. The equation is a tyrant. To go faster, you need more fuel. But that fuel has mass. To accelerate that fuel, you need more fuel. It is an exponential nightmare. A Saturn V rocket was required to get a tiny capsule to a velocity of just 11 kilometers per second, a pathetic fraction of a percent of light speed. To get that same capsule to 10% of C using chemical rockets would require a fuel load with a mass greater than your entire planet. You would need to strap Earth itself to your rocket as the fuel tank. Even theoretical perfect engines like fusion rockets buckle under this math. To launch a single city-sized intergalactic arc and accelerate it to a mere fraction of light speed would require an energy budget that dwarfs human comprehension. We would have to dismantle our solar system to fuel the mission, destroying our home in the attempt to leave it. And if we somehow achieved this, if we built this impossible engine and reached a mere 1% of light speed, our 2.5 million year journey to Andromeda would become 250 million years. We would not have solved the problem, we would have made it unimaginably worse. So what does this leave us with? The cosmic speed limit is a final, unappealable judgment. We cannot go fast. Your only remaining option is to go slow, to build a vessel that can carry your descendants across the void for millions of years. This is the fantasy of the generation ship. The billion-year arc. If speed is forbidden, then our only recourse is endurance. You cannot cross the void in a sprint. You must drift across it in a marathon spanning millennia. The plan is logical, elegant, and born of desperation, the generation ship. You would construct a massive, self-contained world, a world in a bottle, complete with its own oceans, farms, and atmosphere, to ferry thousands of generations through the dark. It is a logical, elegant, and utterly doomed idea. The fundamental flaw is not one of engineering, but of biology. The ark must be a perfect, 100% closed-loop biosphere. Every atom of water must be recycled, every molecule of oxygen regenerated, every gram of human waste processed back into nutrients to grow food. Nothing can be lost. This has never been achieved, not once. Even our own planet, Biosphere 1, is an open system, constantly receiving energy from the Sunday. The ark would be a sealed tomb, alone in the dark. Biosphere 2, the famous experiment in the Arizona desert, was humanity's best attempt at this dream. It was a 3-acre facility designed to house 8 researchers in a perfectly sealed environment. It lasted 2 years, oxygen levels plummeted, carbon dioxide spiked, nitrous oxide accumulated to toxic levels, cockroaches and ants exploded in population, while bees, essential for pollination, perished. The crops failed, the fish perished. The humans inside fought bitterly and descended into psychological turmoil. The experiment had to be aborted. This was a 2-year test, on a planet, with the sun, with the ability to call for help, and with a team of the world's best scientists. The ark must function for 2.5 million years, in the absolute void, with no external energy source, no possibility of resupply, and no hope of rescue. The thermodynamic entropy of a closed system always increases. This is not a pessimistic guess, it is the second law of thermodynamics. Over millions of years, every seal will degrade, every filter will clog, every microscopic inefficiency will compound into catastrophic failure. But let us assume, for the sake of argument, that this problem is solved, that we build a perfect, closed-loop system. There is a second, equally insurmountable barrier, the crew. The cage of flesh. Okay, so the ship itself is a thermodynamic nightmare. But what about the crew? We're adaptable. We have advanced medicine. We put men on the moon and keep astronauts on the ISS for a year. Surely, we can engineer a human body to survive the trip, right? You are not designed for space. Your body, your bones, your cardiovascular system, your immune response, every cell of your biology was sculpted by 3.7 billion years of evolution on a single, unique world. You are a product of Earth's gravity, Earth's atmosphere, and Earth's biome. Remove any one of these variables, and you begin to unravel. In microgravity, astronauts on the ISS lose 1 to 2% of their bone mass per month. Their bones, no longer required to support weight, leach calcium. After 6 months, an astronaut's bones resemble those of an elderly osteoporosis patient. After 2 years, they would be brittle and prone to fracture. The cardiovascular system, too, weakens. On Earth, your heart must fight gravity to pump blood to your brain. In microgravity, this effort is no longer required. The heart atrophies. Astronauts returning from even short missions experience orthostatic intolerance, the inability to stand without fainting. After a multi-million-year journey, your descendants would have hearts so weak they could not survive re-entry into a gravitational field. The immune system collapses. In the sterile, closed environment of the Ark, their immune systems, with no pathogens to fight, would weaken and forget. A single dormant virus could sweep through the population like wildfire. A common cold could be a civilization-ending plague. Radiation is an invisible, relentless destroyer. Earth's magnetic field deflects the high-energy cosmic rays that sleek through the galaxy. The Ark has no such shield. Every day, the crew would be bathed in ionizing radiation, DNA would be damaged, cancers would bloom, mutations would accumulate in the gene pool, compounding with each generation. After 100,000 generations, the descendants might no longer be recognizable as human. But let us assume, once again, that we solve this, that we build rotating sections to simulate gravity, that we develop advanced gene therapies, that we create immune stimulation protocols. There remains a third, far more insidious problem, the human mind. The madness of deep time. So, we have a perfect ship and perfect bodies. All that's left is the mission. We'll simply train the crew, instill a sense of purpose, pass down the knowledge and the goal from one generation to the next. A sacred duty. How hard could it be? You are not built for eternity. Your psychology, your sense of purpose, your concept of a future, are all calibrated to a human lifespan. You think in terms of years, perhaps decades. The Ark demands that you and your children think in terms of millennia. This is not a challenge of discipline, it is a challenge of meaning. The original crew, Generation 0, would board the Ark with a mission, but Generation 1, born in the steel corridors, would never see Earth. Generation 10 would hear the name Earth as a distant legend. Generation 100 would not remember it at all. What would motivate them? Why would they maintain the ship? Why would they continue the mission? The destination, Andromeda, would be an abstraction so distant it would have no emotional weight. The original purpose would be a religious text at best. The crew would not be living for a goal, they would simply be living. This is the trap of the multi-generational mission. You cannot pass down purpose like a genetic trait. Every generation must rediscover and recommit to a mission they will never see completed. And human societies do not work this way. They fracture, they evolve, they forget. Consider the longest-lasting human institutions. The Catholic Church, nearly 2,000 years old, has undergone schisms and radical ideological shifts. Empires rise and fall. Languages mutate beyond recognition. The Ark would need to preserve not just a ship, a culture, a language, and a collective purpose for a span of time 1,000 times longer than the entirety of recorded history. It is statistically impossible. At some point, factions would form. Generations would rebel. Resources would be fought over. Knowledge would be lost. The Ark would descend into tribalism and eventually into barbarism. The ship would still be traveling, but the crew would have forgotten why. The intergalactic minefield. But what if the ship is perfect? What if the crew is perfect? Once we accelerate, we just coast. The journey is just a long, quiet, straight line through the perfect, safe emptiness of space. A frictionless highway. Space is not empty. This is the most dangerous misconception of interstellar travel. We imagine the void as a frictionless highway where a ship would coast forever. This is a fantasy. The intergalactic medium is sparse, yes, but it is not empty. It contains hydrogen atoms, stray photons, and cosmic dust. At low speeds, these are negligible. At relativistic speeds, even a fraction of the speed of light, they become bullets. Imagine a single hydrogen atom. Now imagine your ark traveling at 1% of light speed, colliding with that atom. The relative kinetic energy would be explosive. A grain of sand at this speed would impact with the force of a bomb. A pebble, invisible in the dark, would be an extinction-level event. The intergalactic medium contains an estimated 1 atom per cubic meter. This seems harmless. But your ark would be sweeping through this medium at 3 million meters per second. It would encounter billions of particles every second. Over millions of years, the cumulative damage would be catastrophic. The hull would be pitted, eroded, and eventually punctured. There is no shielding thick enough to withstand this for the duration of the journey, and this assumes the ark only encounters the expected density. Space is not uniform. There are clouds of gas, invisible in the dark. The ark could, without warning, plow into one. The friction would superheat the hull, vaporizing sections of the ship in an instant. The crew would have no time to react, no way to steer. This is not a solvable problem. You cannot map the void. Light, traveling from these distant clouds, would take millions of years to reach our telescopes. By the time we detected the obstacle, the ark would have already passed through it. The journey is not just long. It is a blind flight through a minefield, where a single, unlucky collision ends everything. The engine that can't be built. Let us return one final time to the question of propulsion. We have established that chemical rockets are absurd, that even fusion engines strain plausibility. But there is one theoretical engine that appears in every serious discussion of interstellar travel: the antimatter drive. Antimatter is the most energy-dense fuel in the universe. When a particle of matter meets its antimatter counterpart, they annihilate, converting 100% of their mass into pure energy. E equals mc squared, in its most perfect, violent form. A single kilogram of antimatter would release the energy equivalent of 43 megatons of TNT. It is the ultimate rocket fuel. The problem is production. Antimatter does not exist naturally. It must be created, particle by particle, in massive accelerators like CERN's Large Hadron Collider. The current production rate is about 10 nanograms per year. To fuel a single, one-way trip to Andromeda would require thousands of tons. At current production rates, creating 1 gram of antimatter would require $25 trillion and consume more energy than the entire planet uses in a year. To produce the fuel for the ark would take millions of years and require an energy expenditure equivalent to our sun's entire output for millennia. This is the brutal invoice. To build the engine that could take you to Andromeda, you would need to dismantle the solar system, harvest the energy of the sun, and dedicate the entire industrial capacity of a civilization for eons. You would destroy your home to fuel the mission to leave it. And even if you succeeded, you would have only enough fuel for a one-way trip. There would be no return. The engine that can take us to the stars is not just difficult to build. It is thermodynamically, economically, and practically impossible. It is a fantasy written in equations that have no solution in the real world. The arrival paradox. The ark drifts into the gravity well of a new star system. Sensors power on, cameras focus. There, in the view screen, is a world. A terrestrial planet orbiting in the habitable zone. Oceans glint in the light of its Sunday clouds swirl in a nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere. This is the dream, the payoff, and it's a lie. The first problem is biological compatibility. All life on Earth shares a single genetic code. From bacteria to whales, it's evidence of a single origin. Life on this new world would not share this ancestry. Its biochemistry would be alien. The amino acids might be mirror images of ours, incompatible with human biology. Eating the plants could be poison. Breathing the air, filled with alien microbes, could be lethal to you. The planet might have an atmosphere of oxygen and nitrogen, but the partial pressures could be wrong. Too much oxygen, and every spark becomes a wildfire. Too little, and you suffocate. The gravity could be slightly higher. The day-night cycle could be longer, disrupting circadian rhythms, driving you into madness. But the final, most profound paradox is this: the crew cannot leave the ship. Not because the planet is hostile, but because gravity is. The inhabitants of the ark are no longer Homo sapiens. After generations in microgravity, their physiology has irrevocably changed. Their bones are light and hollow, incapable of supporting their weight against the crushing pull of a 1G world. Their hearts are weak, never having had to fight gravity. To stand on the surface of this planet would be a crushing, agonizing experience as their own skeletons fractured under their weight. Their lungs, calibrated to the perfectly sterile air of the Ark, would find the rich, pollen-filled atmosphere a poisonous shock. The light of its star would be a blinding radiation. They have become Homo navis, man of the ship. The Ark is no longer a vessel. It is their only home. They journeyed millions of years to become prisoners, staring at an Eden they can never touch. They are forever locked outside of their new home, just as they are forever exiled from their old one. But even this isolation is not the final tragedy. There is one last, futile gesture, the impossibility of ever reporting back. The echo in the dark. You've seen the movies, the triumphant radio call, mission accomplished, we've arrived, the cheering in mission control, it's a fantasy. And it's impossible. The Voyager 1 probe drifts in the dark. It carries a golden record, a hello from our world. This reveals the final barrier, the impossibility of a reply. A mission implies a report. But in intergalactic terms, a two-way conversation is impossible. Let us imagine your Ark, against all odds, arrives at Andromeda. The 100,000th generation sends its triumphant signal back. We have made it. That signal travels at the speed of light. It will take 2.5 million years to cross the Gulf, and it will arrive at a world that no longer remembers them. Think about this, 2.5 million years. This is the timescale of your journey. It is also the timescale of your signal's return. We must ask the sober question: who or what will be listening? The answer is simple: no one. 2.5 million years in the future, the human civilization that launched the Ark will be gone. It is a statistical certainty. The entire span of recorded human history is less than 6,000 years. The Roman Empire fell only 1,500 years ago. The languages you speak today will be incomprehensible static. The very cities we built will have been ground to dust. Your species, Homo sapiens, has only existed for about 300,000 years. The average lifespan of a mammal species, from its emergence to its end, is about 1 million years. We aren't even halfway. By the time the hello from Andromeda reaches Earth, the human race will, in all probability, be an evolutionary memory, a thin layer of fossils in the rock. The signal will wash over a planet that has moved on. The "we have arrived" message will be a ghost, an echo in an empty chamber. This is the truth of the one-way ticket. The moment the Ark ignites its engines, it is severed from its origin, forever. It is an act of finality. Its story, its struggles, its crew, all are functionally erased from the human story. They are not explorers, they are exiles. This is the ultimate isolation. It is not just the absence of a reply, but the absence of anyone to listen. And it leads us to the final, most chilling question of all. Why, in a universe so vast, do we hear nothing but this same, echoing silence? The Great Filter. You look up at the 400 billion stars in our galaxy and ask the most terrifying and most logical question: where is everybody? The universe is 13.8 billion years old. There has been more than enough time for thousands of intelligent civilizations to rise. Yet, you see nothing, you hear nothing. The silence of the universe is absolute and deafening. This is the Fermi paradox, and it is the shadow that hangs over your entire future. This profound silence implies an answer. That there is some barrier, some great filter, so impossibly difficult to overcome that it stops almost every civilization from ever making its presence known. We have long wondered where this filter might be. Is it behind us, in the rare leap from simple cells to complex life, or is it in our immediate future, a technological barrier of self-destruction? But perhaps we have been looking in the wrong place. The Great Filter is not an event in time. Perhaps the filter is space itself. What if the very architecture of the universe, the container you live in, is the wall? The barriers we have just systematically outlined are not a series of independent engineering problems to be solved. They are the interlocking bars of the cage. The universe built a perfect prison, and the answer to "where is everybody" is that they are all trapped, just as we are. Every civilization that has ever sparked to consciousness, on every world, in every galaxy, has looked up, run the same numbers, and come to the same fatalistic conclusion. They are born in their cradles, and they will perish in their cradles. So the next time you look up at the night sky, and you see those distant galaxies, hundreds of billions of them, scattered across the universe like islands in an infinite ocean, remember this: every single one of them is a prison. Every star in those galaxies, hosting worlds, some hosting civilizations, some younger than yours, some older. Some right now, at this very moment, staring back at us through telescopes we can't even imagine. And every single one of them is trapped, just like you are. They've run the same numbers, hit the same walls, come to the same suffocating conclusion. The universe didn't build us to explore it, it built us to witness it. To look up, to wonder, to dream, and to perish here, in the cradle that gave us life. We are not a spacefaring species, we are a watching species. You were born in this galaxy. You will perish in this galaxy. Your children will perish in this galaxy. And every human who will ever draw breath will live and perish right here, staring up at a universe they can see but never, ever touch. And maybe that's why the universe is so beautiful. Because we were never meant to touch it, only to see it. The ultimate destiny of humanity, and of all intelligence, is not to conquer the universe. It is to live and to find meaning, and to ultimately cease to exist right here, in the one lonely galaxy that gave us our brief, beautiful moment of consciousness. The question isn't, will we ever escape? The question is, what do we do with the time we have here, knowing we never will? We may be prisoners in this galaxy, but our minds are free to explore. Like, share, and subscribe, and let's keep asking the biggest questions together.